Welcome to The Unlikely Executive, the podcast where passion meets purpose. Here we share stories of people who have transformed their lives and the world around them by following what truly drives them. I'm Barbara Carlisle, an executive coach and mentor for non-profits, and I help people who want to make a positive impact actually do it. Let's dive in. Welcome to the conversation today. Really pleased that you could come on and share with us a little bit about yourself and about the journey that you've been on, and tell us a little bit about the organisation that you now head up. So first question from me, what is it that you do, Nick?
I'm still trying to work it out, to be honest. No, I mean, those people that don't know me, I'm an ex-footballer who never really made it. But I did play at Old Trafford once in front of 73,500. Then in 2012, my life changed forever. I was just a normal run-of-the-mill guy who went out to work every single day, and I was on quite a good sort of salary. But ultimately, I woke up on that particular Monday morning and collapsed in bed. Eventually got myself going again and went to the bathroom and collapsed bathroom. My wife just turned around and said, "Oh, come back to bed. You've obviously got up too quick." I went to bed, as in got back in the bed, and then I just lost all sensation on the right-hand side completely.
Oh dear.
The paramedics were called, and they said, "Oh, we think you're having a stroke." And I was like, "What?" You know, I'm all fully compass mentis. I could hear everything that was going on. I could speak, but they just said that I was having a stroke. So I blew them to the local hospital, and I remember being on the trolley, and I heard the consultant tell my wife, mum and dad, who joined at the hospital, to prepare themselves for the worst, because it's definitely something that's going to be bad. Yeah, so cut long story short, after 4 weeks of being in the hospital, I came out, felt really isolated, alone, no one to really speak to, and I just felt as though I wanted to give something back.
I mean, that's quite incredible, Nick, just after 4 weeks that you start to think about other people.
I just wanted to sort of share my experience. I mean, I don't have all the answers, but I loved being at the hospital just to give that sort of hope to other patients that find themselves where I was. And pardon the pun, I thought it had legs, in the respect that if you could give off your sort of life experience, hopefully it'll make the journey for someone a lot better, a lot easier. And then it was an old work colleague that said, "I'll put you some web space aside, go and tell your story, do a blog." And I'm like, "John, I haven't got a clue what you're on about. I haven't got a clue what to start with WordPress. I wouldn't even know where to start on the internet." And he taught me the basics, and then we got the website going. And I just thought then, do you know what? I want to try and make this a charity.
Can you just take me back, Nick? So you did have a stroke. So when the paramedics said it looks like you might be having a stroke, you did have a stroke. And what was the consequences of that stroke?
Well, as a result, I lost my complete right-hand side.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of the things I like to do is joke about it, in the respect that I think that humour is one of the best medicines you can have. And when we were in the triage and being assessed, I'd been from a scan, and they came back and said, "Oh, we think he's got a large bleed on the left-hand side of his brain."
Yeah.
So I just turned around to my mum and dad and just went, "Oh, I didn't even know he had a brain," and just left it at that. And
that's not what most people would think, Nick, when they've just been told they've got a bleed on the left part of the brain. So yes, that is humour. Mm.
It is humour. And to be honest with you, I owe my consultant the world, because not only did he sort of diagnose that I had fluid on my spine that would have left me paralysed completely.
Yeah.
He performed a lumbar puncture on me, and he drained the fluid off my spine, and yeah, thankfully I'm here today and I'm not really paralysed. So
yeah, brilliant. And so 4 weeks after you came out of hospital, you then started to think, right, I want to support others, share my story. A friend of yours said, "I've got you some web space. Why don't you write a blog?" So it was their sort of initial idea, was it, that they could see that you had a story and then you thought, right, I'll write a blog. And then was it in 2012? So the stroke was in 2012, and you set up your charity a couple of years later, didn't you? So did you do a bit of blogging in the first few years?
Yeah, well, in actual truth, I started writing a book whilst I was in hospital, just tapping away on the iPad, and just thought, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write a book. But then John threw the curveball by saying, look, I've set you some web space aside, I've registered a domain, I can't believe it, it's available, but stroke information is available.
Wow.
So I was like, right, let's do it. And yeah, so I started the blog, started writing about my journey, and then I just felt that people needed to not only hear about the journey, but maybe people could support it. And that was the sort of reason behind starting a charity, because, you know, nothing against the national charity. They're very good at raising awareness and, you know, talking about research, and I get that, but they've not been there. And
it's the lived experiences.
So has actually experienced it. I think if you can sort of build from their experience and maybe do things to help. My whole thing is like with the national charity, and I'm careful not to name them, but their sort of thing is like, let's stop a stroke from happening.
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry, if you really knew you're not going to stop a stroke from happening, it's like a heart attack. You're not going to stop a heart attack happening. So my sort of theory behind it all was help people cope with the stroke, cope with the after effects, and be the better version of themselves, and maybe create that hope, that sense of self-worth again, because you feel, not only do you feel isolated, you just feel useless. You just feel as though you've got no sense of purpose anymore. Why am I on this earth? I can't do the things I do. But there's a very, very important 3-letter word that should be the end of every sentence when you put something like, I can't do that. And that is simply yet.
Yes.
And it's a question of like understanding that, you know, it takes time.
Yeah. So now, and you're right, I think national charities and local charities and any charities, they've all got a place, haven't they? So what would you say is the key benefit of your charity for others?
The main emphasis, I think, for the charity is just to sort of have that compassion.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what someone's going through. I mean, it doesn't have to be stroke related, because, again, I think we've had, in the last sort of 12, 18 months, we've had it very, very key about mental health side of things.
Yeah.
And it is just reaching out to people and saying, look, I don't have all the answers, but if you want to effectively lean on my shoulder, I can give you my wisdom for what it's worth, and just know that you're not alone. You don't have to face whatever you're doing alone. You know, I can't miraculously make you walk again or talk again, but effectively with the added bonus of comedy, then, you know, you're putting people at the same sort of level.
So you're there as a support, and people can lean into the organisation. And how many people are you supporting, Nick, would you say, over a year?
I'd say we've helped 100 people.
And is that in the locality where you live, or is it across the UK or even wider?
I don't want to blow my own trumpet, Barbara, but we are global.
Right, brilliant. Yeah. And do people tend to come back to you? Is it they come to you once and then they leave, or is it a part of a community that you're growing where people know they can come when they need to, or do they come every month, or, you know, how do people use your service?
We have a free weekly drop-in.
Yeah.
Which is done as well by Zoom. So, you know, we've added the technology in there, mainly because of COVID, because we couldn't actually meet face-to-face. So we went on Zoom. But the point is that people do drop in.
Yeah. Nick, I want to ask you about your own leadership journey. You now find yourself CEO, MD, however, I mean, how do you describe yourself as the owner of a charity?
CEO, definitely. And, eventually when theoretically it's time for me to move on, I've thought about that and I'll always be the founder of it. So, whatever happens in my journey, and hopefully I can leave it as a sort of legacy for the children, that I'll always be the founder of the charity. Simple as that.
And how does that make you feel, Nick, when you say I'm a CEO, I'm a founder of a charity?
Because of my background in football, when we established the charity, I wanted to do a bucket collection to raise the awareness in my local town. So we did a bucket collection at Stockport County, which is a local football club to me, one that I'm very passionate about. And we did a bucket collection and we raised about 400 quid. And one of the volunteers turned around and said, well, it's not a lot really, that is it. There's 10 of us doing bucket collection and we raised 400 quid. That's like 40 quid each.
Yeah.
And I just turned around and said, you've missed the point. I said, if we raised a tenner, it's £10 more than we had yesterday.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is there were 4,000 people in the crowd at that event. 4,000 people now know that we exist. So that should it ever happen to a member of their family, they can reach out to somebody local who can give them the advice and support.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not just about fundraising for fundraising's sake. It's all about raising awareness and supporting people if they then find themselves or a family member in need. Where you've ended up today as the CEO and founder of an organisation that's supporting individuals through a really difficult part of their life journey, what resources have you got within yourself? You've mentioned humour. What else do you have at your disposal that helps you be an effective CEO?
I've always prided myself on having a network of people around me. And then bringing it back to the stroke side of things. After the stroke happens, you don't feel worthy. You don't feel part of something. You don't feel part of society. You feel you might be part of the community, but you're just sort of earmarked away or, shut behind curtains. But you've still got a purpose. I mean, it's getting on to a subject with like the DWP, which is, I understand why they go about doing what they do, but with certainly stroke survivors, they pick on the wrong people. The people are feeling very isolated when a stroke happens. They feel, as I say, worthless. And to give them that little bit of power and that little bit of hope and that self-worth, it's magic. It really is magic.
What you're saying reminds me of something you've said to me before about the 4 A's. Do you want to tell us what that is?
I'm so pleased you remembered. Yeah, I think that there's the overall lesson from it all is that I discovered that there were 4 poignant A's in the sort of recovery process. The first A is to make people aware that you've had a stroke, not only like your family members, but also your neighbours. People, even like to an extent that I can relate to, was getting on the bus for the first time after my stroke. I got on the bus and the bus driver said to me, okay, where you to, mate? And I just stood there and I was aghast. And it got so frustrating for him that he just turned around and said, look, I've got a bus full of people here, mate. Where are you going to? And I just couldn't get my words out. And he thought I was drunk. And in the end, I mean, I've got them here. I've got little business cards. And on the back of the business card is, please bear with me. I've had a stroke. Sometimes I struggle to get my words out. And straight away, taking that stigma away. So make people around you aware that you've had an experience of stroke. Then acknowledge that it's happened, because too many times you sort of, oh no, it's never going to happen to me. Nah, it's not happening to me. I'm fine. Nothing's happened to me. So once you've acknowledged it, say, yeah, okay, it's happened. It's time to get on with it. And that brings me on to the third A, which is acceptance.
Right.
Because for the first, if I'm being honest, for about the first 6 months after the stroke has happened, you're in denial.
Yeah, I can understand that.
You think that it's not happened to you, and then there's a sort of realization that it has happened. So you're much better accepting that it's happened. And then the final A is to take action and do something about it, whether it is to change your lifestyle, whether it is to reach out and talk to other people that have gone through a very similar sort of thing. You know, not necessarily a life-changing event, but a traumatic incident that people can then relate to. Oh yeah, I don't know what it's like to have a stroke, but I can relate it to something that's happened to me. So
yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. So you have got making others aware, acknowledging yourself that you've had a stroke, accepting that you've had a stroke, and taking action to change people's perceptions and how you see the world. Nick, that's really great that you've shared that. And if I was going to ask you, you know, got people who may have had a stroke listening, who may know somebody who has, and similarly those who don't think it's going to happen to them, and those who've never actually thought about it. So if I was going to ask you what takeaway you'd like people to have, or what challenge you'd like to put to people who are listening to this, what would it be?
Whatever it is you're going through, don't sort of suffer in silence. Just reach out. I mean, like I've said before, and I've alluded to a couple of times, I don't have all the answers. You know, I don't claim to have all the answers, but we're now in a position where we're probably over 100 people in our WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
And people come, and it is quite clear, and I make this clear from day one when they join, you can use that as a sounding board as much as you want. And, you know, if you're just having a bad day, because, you know, everyone has good days and bad days, the trick is to try and have more good days than bad days. And, you know, it doesn't have to be stroke related, no matter what life throws at you. Just try and make sure that there's positive sides of it. We all go through rubbish. And one of the things I like to say at the moment is, it's not a game of top trumps. It's not a situation where, oh, you know, my car's blacker than yours, or, you know, I've got bigger muscles than you. It's not a question of top trumps. It's a question of saying, I know what you're going through. I've got an idea what you're going through. And if you just want to chew my ear, then fine, chew my ear.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm hearing there is that the thing you're saying to people is don't suffer in silence. And then the thing I'm also hearing is that find a community where you can choose somebody's ear, where you can, you know, chat, and it isn't a game of top trumps. It's not about my situation's worse than yours. So inherent in that is that empathy piece. And Nick, how can people get in touch with you outside this if they want to know more about you, know more about stroke information?
Well, look, luckily the website is quite easy to remember. It's just all the W's. .strokeinformation.co.uk. So we're on the usual social media channels, Twitter, or X as it's now called, but Facebook, Instagram, although I don't do a lot of that.
What with the hashtag or the with the handle at Stroke Information?
It's actually at Stroke Info or Stroke Info. We've also got my own personal one, which was at 69 Clarkey, because that's the year, not the year I was born, it's the house I live at. So that's why.
Right.
It's, yeah. We've also got a handle for our mascot, Steady Eddie.
Steady Eddie, yeah.
Yeah, and the reason that it became about was I wanted to encourage children to know about strokes. And I was looking for a character that we could adapt to be our mascot. And
yes,
cut a long story short, we used to go to a drop-in that we organised at a local gym. And one of the guys who was a lifeguard he had the name of Edsel. Hopefully that doesn't identify him too much, but you'll see where I'm going with this. But with Edsel, he'd come to us, he'd welcome us in the morning at, say, 9:10, and he'd say, right, do you want a brew? Oh yeah, love a brew. So he'd disappear, and then 10 minutes later he'd come back and say, do you have milk and sugar? So he'd say, oh, just milk, no sugar. And then no word of a lie, 20 minutes later he'd go, did you want milk or not? And by the time that he actually came back with a cup of tea, it was like 11:30. It was like 3 hours after he asked. So I nicknamed him Steady Eddie because it was like a question of taking his time. And then I'm thinking, hang on a minute, think of an animal that we can relate to. And then Aesop's fable came into my head about the tortoise and the hare. The one who takes the time gets there in the end. And that's like recovering from a stroke, because, you know, we all want to get back to normal, whatever normal is, as quickly as possible. But sometimes it's just not possible to do that as quickly as possible. And we just have to take our time. And that's the theory behind and the story behind
Steady Eddie.
Yeah.
Nick, thank you ever so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Today, and all the best going forward. And hopefully we can keep in touch.
Thanks for having me. And the same goes, although you're obviously going to release this, but if anyone knows anyone that's impacted by stroke, please get in touch, because I'd love to see if we can help.
Thanks for tuning in to The Unlikely Executive. If today's conversation sparked a new idea, inspired a shift, or gave you the nudge to step into your purpose, embrace it and take action. Remember to like, share and subscribe so you don't miss opportunities that can transform the way you lead, work and live your life. I'm Barbara Carlisle, executive coach, mentor and trainer. You can find my details in the show notes, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about the show and about your own journey. Until next time, take that step to be more authentically you, live your purpose and enjoy making a positive impact.